Welcome everyone, my name is Gayle, and in this practice we're going to focus on our immune system, in particular the lymphatic system that can pull like toxins and bacteria and disease out of our bodies into these lymph nodes and then release it from our body. The thing is, the lymphatic system doesn't have a pump. Like the circulatory system has the heart for a pump, but the lymphatic system, we have to move to get things like flushed out of our body. So we're going to focus on some self-massage, some movements to get the lymph flowing and to really help to improve our immune system and keep us nice and healthy, because we are our own healers, really. It's ultimately our bodies that heal us, and everything else is like an aid or assist trying to help our body to heal. So one thing you will definitely need for this practice is some kind of blanket or a couple of towels, something that you can roll up into a nice fat juicy roll like this that we're going to use in the beginning of our practice. So let's always start by closing our eyes and just taking 5 or 10 breaths to focus on the movement that comes from the inhale and the exhale. And giving ourselves time to focus on the breath so that we're not focusing on other things outside of this moment. So we're tuning in to being completely present so that we can be mindful in our practice and gain full benefit from everything that's involved in the practice of yoga. So gently open your eyes, and we're going to start just doing a gentle like tapping all around our scalp. So just take the tips of your fingers, the pads of your fingers, and lightly tap all around where the back of the head, top of the head, sides. And so it's something that you can really feel, but it's not like a hard pressure. It's just kind of a light, gentle tap. And this is really beneficial to calming your nerves, to improving circulation and the brain area, to helping you to relax. If you tend to have headaches, this could be really beneficial. And it really kind of stimulates all the nerves in this area and gives you a feeling of like really being alive and awake. So let your chin lower towards your chest and continue tapping down the back of your neck, across the back of your shoulders, into the front of your shoulders, across your chest, and then back around your back, getting close to the spine, tapping all along the trapezius muscles and the deltoids, and then back up all around your scalp again. Ooh. And just stop for a moment to notice how you feel. Notice that stimulation that happens just from like a gentle tapping. And now we're gonna massage some key areas of our lymphatic system. So we're going to start at the collarbones, and you want to kind of hook the tips of your fingers just up above and kind of to the inside of the collarbones. We're not trying to go really deep, but we're just trying to get in there into that groove a little bit and do a little back and forth motion, a little circular motion, kind of moving along the top of the collarbone. Just with some gentle pressure. Feeling the tissue there, noticing if it feels a little tender or like a little bit hard, or if it has a nice give and kind of fluid feeling to it. And then we're gonna do that same thing just underneath the collarbone. So right up against the bone, almost like we're trying to go underneath it, but we won't go underneath it. Just getting in there, kind of circling, rubbing back and forth. So that's our first area. And now we're going to take our index finger and our middle finger and go right up, and you want to feel the bone right behind your ear, right at the back of the ear, just kind of a little bit maybe above the earlobe. Feel that bony knob, and then the bony knob of the top of your jaw. And right in between there, you want to take your middle finger or your index finger and your middle finger and do gentle circles. You can put a little bit of pressure here, but again, we're not trying to dig in there and go really deep. We're just trying to get a feel for what's going on here. So you can circle in both directions. You can kind of rub up and down. You can close your eyes so that you can really get into this, how this feels. Good. And just relax your hands and kind of just notice how things are feeling so far. Next place we're going to go is along the shoulders, so just kind of on the edge of the humerus. And same thing here. We're going to circle, do a little rubbing back and forth. Just any kind of motion like you're exploring this area. Yeah, not trying to dig too deep, but get in there enough so that you're aware that you're giving yourself a little massage here. And getting right down into like this little pocket here at the beginning of the armpit. And then let's switch sides, other side. So same thing, just get in there with your fingers. Be gentle, but also firm. And again, notice how that feels. So we've done the first 3 areas of working on this lymphatic massage. The next place we're going to do is between the base of our sternum, like right at that little notch there where the low ribs come together, just to above our belly button. So take your fingernails together and then take the base of your fingers, and we're just going to do a little bit of rubbing up and down, little up and down motion. And then we're going to slide down a little bit lower, and we're going to go all the way down until just above the belly button. We're not going into the belly button, just above the belly button. Again, noticing if there's tightness or tension here. And then place your hand right over your belly button, and imagine we're going to draw a circle around the circumference of our hand around the belly button. So just drawing little circles with your fingers while circling around the belly button. This is our area of digestion. So we're going to move up the left side and across to the right side. Then we'll do one more circle, just circling down the right side, all the way across. And back up to where we started. And then take the heel of your thumb and kind of hook it just a little bit underneath your ribs. We're going to aim towards the belly button. So a little diagonal, just kind of pushing towards the belly button. And then we're going to take our fingers just like inside the hip bones and kind of pull up toward the belly button. So just a couple of passes here. And then just kind of gently circle around again with the palm of your hand. Very little pressure. Almost just like a very light touch. And again, just take a moment, notice how you're feeling. So we've done 4 areas of the body. And now we're going to get up into our hip flexor area, right? The crease where the top of the legs meet the hips. And again, same thing, just gentle little circles, maybe a little back and forth. And you'll feel there's a little crease there. And just kind of feel your way in there. This is a major an area of major lymph nodes, so it's a really important area. I mean, everything in our body is important, right? All right. So now we're going to work on the back of our knees. So come down onto your hands and knees, walk your left knee back a little bit, and take your left hand to the back of your left knee. And again, just those little circular motions there, maybe a little back and forth. Just kind of feeling your way around the back of the knee. And then we'll switch to the other side. So stretch the right leg back a little bit. So you open up the back of the knee and just give yourself a gentle massage there. Good. Come back into your tabletop and just start to circle your ribs around in a big circle, rounding and arching your back and gliding from side to side. And you can alter the movement to just kind of go with the flow. It's like our lymph, we want our lymph to flow, we want our spine to flow, we want our whole body to flow. And now, grab a towel or a blanket, just something that you can roll up into a nice, comfortable roll. So you can always pause the video if you don't have one handy. And if you have a yoga blanket, we're going to fold it into quarters. So just create a shape, something like this. You might be folding your blanket in half or in quarters, or, just kind of start with this rectangular shape and then take a moment to smooth out the wrinkles. So we're not in a big rush. It's more about being mindful and creating something that is going to be very comfortable. And start to roll the blanket up, taking your time, maybe smoothing out some of the wrinkles that develop. So we're trying to end up with a blanket roll that's as non-lumpy as possible, so as smooth as possible. And you can vary the size of the roll. I mean, depending on the thickness of your blanket or your towel, you might get a really thick roll and you might get a kind of smallish roll. So coming back onto your hands and knees, bring your hips forward so you open up the space on the back of your knees. Bring your big toe mounds together and securely press the roll into the back of your knees. Now you want your knees apart, and we're gonna sit back into child's pose. But we've got this big roll in between our calves and our hamstrings, so it's going to create some pressure and give us a little bit of massage. So you can create that massage feeling by just gently rocking your hips from side to side. It might be a little bit uncomfortable. If it's too painful, you just come out of it a little bit. If you want to go deeper, you can push down and forward into your hands and put a little more pressure into the back of your thighs, pressing into the blanket roll, which is pressing into your calves. And now we're going to move the blanket down just a little bit and rest back into child's pose. So even though it feels like you just move the blanket like an inch or less, it'll probably feel like the pressure from the blanket is more like 3 or 4 inches or even 5 inches below where we just were. So again, just let your weight sink into it. For most people, it's a little more comfortable when the blanket roll is closer to your ankles. So one more, we're going to just move that blanket down a little bit more, teeny bit more. Sit back. Again, you can push your hands down and forward to get a little more weight into the back of the legs. Just breathe softly and fully with a sense of deep relaxation. So it could be nice to stay here longer, but we're going to move the blanket now so that the blanket roll is perpendicular to the mat. We're going to get the blanket roll to be right here at the front of the hip creases. So we're just going to lie down with the blanket roll underneath our hip creases. Just let your chest rest on the floor and rest the side of your head on the back of your hands, or you could rest your forehead on the back of your hands. Just make any little adjustments you might need to make yourself completely comfortable. Let your back relax. And if you like, you can do some side-to-side movements, massaging that area that we were just massaging with our hands, so kind of massaging it a little bit more with the movement. If you are resting the side of your head on the back of your hands, this would be a good time to switch sides. Let your back and your shoulders relax. We'll stay here for a few more breaths. Now you can begin to come off the blanket, and we're going to lie on our backs with the blanket roll underneath the back of our shoulder blades. So this will open up the upper back. Oh, this feels so good. So you don't want the blanket right up by the top of your shoulders, but just, if you can imagine or feel the back of your, like the lower tips of your shoulder blades, that's where you want the blanket. And then bring your arms out to the side. And just let yourself relax here. Feeling how maybe the breath comes a little bit easier when the chest is wide open like this. When the upper back is getting like a little teeny back bend, kind of like a different pattern of movement because we tend to round so much, round forward. And now we're just opening up the whole chest, the upper back. Just letting yourself relax here. And now let's come off our blanket by gently rolling to your side. And we're going to turn the blanket so that it's parallel to the long edge of the mat. And again, lie back on the blanket with your hips on the floor, your head on the blanket. So if you need to move your body towards the back of your mat, bottom of your mat, feel free to do that. Again, try out different positions with your arms to feel the one that feels the best for you right now. So arms in cactus position is really nice. And you might feel a little stretch, a little pull on the part of the shoulders, that the front of the shoulders where we just massaged earlier. And again, let yourself relax here. Feeling the breath move in and out gently through your nose. We'll stay here about 4 or 5 more breaths, giving your body a little extra time to relax in this supported position. It's really a pretty big chest and shoulder opener. And I feel like the longer I stay here, I feel more sensations spreading throughout different parts of my body, reminding me how everything is connected. And you can bend your knees, gently roll off your blanket. So now we're going to come into a squat with the blanket underneath our heels. So this generally makes a squat a little bit easier. You can always unroll the blanket if it's too fat, too thick. Just let your heels rest into the blanket. You can bring your elbows to the inside of your knees if you want and squeeze your legs into your elbows and push your elbows out into the inside of your knees. This is like a little, like a squatting assist with the blanket underneath your heels. It's easier to squat. Now, for many of you, it may be easy to squat with your feet flat on the floor, but we're just kind of giving ourselves a little break. And then bring the blanket out from underneath your heels over to the front of your feet. And we're going to step the front of the foot, the toes, and the metatarsal heads onto the blanket, and you should feel a good stretch in the back of your legs, even up into the back of your knees. And let's bow forward. Think of lifting your sit bones up to keep that stretch going, but you can also bend your knees if that would feel better for you. We're working a little bit on the dorsiflexion of the ankles, as well as opening up the back of the knees. And just let yourself sink into this forward fold, kind of playing around with bending your knees, working towards straightening your legs. Letting your shoulders and your head and neck relax. Nice. Now let's remove the blanket from underneath our toes and focus on the tripod of your foot. So that's the mound of the big toe, the mound of the pinky toe, and the center of the heel. Lift and spread all 10 toes. Press down through the tripod of your foot. Bring your hands to your hips and push your fingertips into that hip crease that we were working on earlier. Lift your shoulders away from the floor. Push into your feet to rise all the way up to stand. Release your hands by your sides, coming into Tadasana, mountain pose. And just notice the relationship of the parts of your body to each other. So ideally, we want to stack the knees over the ankles, the hips over the knees, the shoulders over the hips, and the head kind of in between the front ribs and the back ribs, so that we're not jutting our head forward, but we're in a nice balance. On your next inhale, sweep your arms up. Bring the back of your hands together. Push down into your right foot and stretch over to the left. Inhale back to center. Push down through your left foot. Stretch over to the right. And just gently glide back and forth, side to side. Nice, easy motion. Pressing into the opposite foot and stretching out your side body while you can compress the opposite side. Come back to center. Gaze up at your fingers and see if you can lift your heels up off the floor. So you want to hug your legs in towards each other, press into the big toe mound. Lift up through the heels. And then slowly lower your heels down, release your arms down. Face the front of your mat, and on your inhale, sweep your arms up. On your exhale, hinge at your hips and forward fold. Place your hands down, step back into plank. Lower your knees, walk your hands back a little bit, and rotate your thumbs outward so that your fingers either face your knees or out to the side. The closer you bring your hands in, it'll be less of a stretch. The further you move your hands away, it'll be a little more stretch. And start to circle around your hands. Nice and slow, gentle movements. Reverse the direction of your circles. Come back to center. Flip the palm of your hand so the top of your hand is off the floor. And you can lean into it if you want, or you can kind of back out. So if this is too much on the back of your hands, you can always make fists with your hands, and with the knuckles locked together, you lower the top of your hands to the floor. When you straighten your arms, you'll get a nice stretch. When you bend your elbows, you'll release that stretch. So you could go back and forth, bending and straightening your elbows, or you could have the back of your hands on the floor. And again, circle around your wrists, both directions. And then point your toes, sit back on your heels, bring your left hand to the back of your toes and lift your hips up, stretch your arm over and across, press your hips forwards, stretching out the front of the hips that we were massaging earlier. And come back down, swing around to the other side, lift up. And just 2 more times, gliding and lifting from side to side. So just making a little dance out of it so that it feels fun to do. And you feel this rhythm with your breath and your body moving together. Good. Let's come back onto our hands and knees in tabletop. Grip the mat with your fingers so you feel your muscles engage all the way up into your shoulders. Like you'll even feel your shoulders working if you isometrically hug your hands in towards each other, grip the mat. You might feel your belly engage and lift a little bit. And stretch your right leg back, pushing into your big toe mound. So that if you push into the floor and push into the big toe mound, you'll feel your body start to lift away from the floor a little bit. Keep that, reach your right leg up and your left arm up. And circle your wrist and your ankle, both directions. And then we're gonna pull our elbow back towards our hip and pull our knee forward towards our arm. And stretch out again. And pull in again. Try and keep your foot lifted as you move back and forth. Now I have my back toes pointed. You could have them tucked. Might be a little bit easier. And then come back down and we'll do the same thing on the other side. So stretch out through your left leg, pushing into your big toe mound. Push into the floor. Reach your leg up and your right arm up. And circle your wrists and your ankles. And pull your elbow towards your belly, your knee towards your arm, and go forward and back. Nice, come back onto your hands and knees, tuck your toes, sink your hips back to your heels, and lift your hips up in the air for downward facing dog. Begin to bend one knee at a time. You can think of like walking out your dog. Look at your feet. Try and keep the arches lifting instead of collapsing. And see if you can feel that you can press into the metatarsal heads. And kind of pump your knees and your feet back and forth. On your next inhale, round forward to plank. And on your exhale, glide back to your down dog. Just move back and forth. A couple more times. And we're going to come into a lunge with our right leg forward. So you can either walk forward and step your left leg back, or reach your right leg up and down dog splits. And pull your heel to your hip, your knee to your chest. Step your foot all the way forward. Lower your back knee down. Bring your hands to your hips and start to tilt the pelvis forward and back. And forward and back. And notice how it feels in your hip groin, in the hip crease. And see if you can find kind of a neutral position, something in between those two ranges of motion. Reach your arms up, lift your heart open, just like the blanket, you know, the feeling of the blanket being in the back of your shoulders, and lower your hands back down, lift your back knee up, press into both feet, rise up into your crescent lunge. And again, just feel that, you know, tilt your pelvis back and forth. Notice how that feels in this hip crease. And find a nice, strong, steady position. Reach your arms up, opening up through the chest. And lower your hands back down. Step back into your down dog. And we'll just play here for a few breaths. And then we're going to end up in a left lunge, left leg forward. So either walk forward and step your right leg back, or sweep your left leg up. Pull your heel to your hip and your knee to your chest. Step your foot all the way forward. Lower your back knee down. Bring your hands to your hips and just tilt the hips back and forth. Really getting used to all this movement that we have and how the hips feel different, whether you have a big posterior tilt or a big anterior tilt or something in between. Then reach your arms up, open up through the chest. Bring your hands back down, lift your back knee off the floor. Rise up into crescent lunge. Again, hands on the hips so you can feel the hips moving back and forth. Feel that pelvic tilt. It's more of a tilt back and forth than a moving back and forth. Then find a position that feels really stable to you. Reach your arms up, opening up through your chest. And step back to your downward facing dog. And look forward to your hands, bend your knees, and walk forward to your hands. Lift and spread all your toes. Lower them back down again. Bring your hands to your hips. Bend your knees as much as you need to. Reach your shoulders away from the floor, bringing the shoulders onto your back. Press into the tripod of your foot and rise all the way up to stand. Release your arms by your sides. And just notice how you're feeling. So we're going to pick up the pace a little bit and do some sun salutations. You're welcome to go a little slower if you want, kind of just follow along, you know, a little bit behind, but we want to get the lymph pumping and flowing. So we're going to kind of do this nice, gentle sun salutation. On your inhale, sweep your arms up. On your exhale, forward fold. Place your hands down with the fingers spread. Step back into plank. You can lower your knees or keep them lifted. Lower all the way down, trying to keep the shoulders lifted. Point your toes, press your feet into the earth, curl up into your cobra. Lower down, tuck your toes, press back to your downward facing dog. Walk your feet in a little bit, and we're going to come into a lunge with the right leg forward. So reach your right leg up, bend your knee into your chest, step your foot all the way forward, rise up into your crescent lunge, and twist toward your front leg. Reach the back arm forward and up, and open up warrior two. So you have a similar pelvic tilt action here. So you can either tilt your hips forward or you can try and parallel your hips to the floor. Make sure your knees tracking over your second toe and reach up and back. Reversing your warrior, come forward, rest your forearm on your thigh, and nice slow circles. And reach up and back, reverse your warrior again. This time straighten your front leg, push into your foot, and reach forward and down, finding your triangle pose. Gaze up at the sky. Push into your both feet firmly. Bend your front knee, come back up, reverse your warrior, and windmill your arms. Step back into your down dog. Left side, sweep your left leg up, Hug your knee into your chest, step your foot all the way forward. Rise up, crescent lunge. So maybe tilt the pelvis back and forth a little bit, find a spot that feels really supportive, and twist to your left. Reaching out through both arms. Nice, a long stretch, long reach. Sweep the back arm forward and up, rotate the back heel down, open up, warrior two. Reach up and back, reverse your warrior. Come back forward, rest your forearm on your thigh. A nice big open circles. Next time your arm sweeps back, reach back, reverse your warrior. Straighten your front leg here, push into your foot, reach forward and down. You can have your hand on a block if you want, or your leg. Open up into triangle pose. Good, bend your front knee. Come back up, warrior two. Reach back, reverse your warrior. And windmill the arms, step back into your down dog. Look towards your hands. Walk your feet forward or hop your feet forward. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, bow. Press down into the earth, rise up toward the sky. And bring your hands together in front of your heart. So we're gonna add a half moon here. You might wanna have some blocks handy or some books or something that can support you with a little bit of height from the floor. On your next inhale, sweep your arms up. And on your exhale, forward fold. Place your hands down, step back to plank. Lower all the way down. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, down dog. Inhale, sweep the right leg up. This time, stack your hips, bend your knee, and bend and straighten your right leg a couple of times. And square your hips, step your leg all the way forward. And here's where you might want to have a block underneath your right hand. We're going to come into half moon. So open up the hips, stack the hips, press into the tripod of your foot, stack your shoulders, keep the top leg lifted and strong, reach your arm up. Maybe gaze up at your hand. Good, lower your left hand down, square your hips, standing splits. Reach up. And reach back long through your back foot. Rise up, crescent lunge. Open up. And back to downward facing dog. And we'll do the same thing other side. So step the right foot in a little bit, sweep the left leg up. Hug your knee into your chest, step your foot all the way forward. And from here, you might want to place your left hand on a block. Open your hips, stack your hips. Keep your top leg strong. Stack your shoulders. Reach your right arm up, your right arm up. Maybe gaze up at your hand. And lower your right hand down, square your hips. Reach back long. And come on up, crescent lunge. And back to downward facing dog. Look towards your hands, bend your knees, and hop or step forward. And come into a squat. So this time we don't have the blanket underneath our hips. We're gonna come into a squat. Have a block handy or a folded blanket or towel, something that you can place underneath your sacrum. Lower onto your back. Hug your knees into your chest and just gentle circles in both directions. Then place your feet on the floor. Lift your hips up high enough to slide your block or folded blankets or whatever support you have And float your legs up in the air. So this is great if you have any swelling in your ankles or your feet. To do this gentle inversion. So spread out your toes as far as you can apart from each other, so you can see the color of the ceiling in between your toes. Now see if you can pull your big toes forward towards your face and stretch your other 4 toes away. Then press your big toes away, stretch the other 4 toes forward, and just go back and forth. This might be challenging for you if you haven't practiced this at all. It might come really easily. But it's really kind of a brain to body connection to be able to do this. And then just relax your feet. Again, you can do circles with your ankles, trying to move from your ankles and not from your toes or your knees. Reverse the direction of your ankles. And bend your knees, lower your feet to the floor, and straighten either one leg or both legs so you get a nice stretch across the top of your hip flexors. And just let yourself relax here for a few breaths. Well, bend your knees, lift your hips enough to slide the block out from underneath. Start to lengthen your low back by stretching your tailbone towards your heels until your back slowly rests on the floor. Hug your knees into your chest. And take one knee in each hand and begin to do circles apart from each other. So you're circling your knees apart from each other, both directions. And give yourself one more big hug, big squeeze, and stretch out into your Savasana. So you can do some little adjustments so that you feel really comfortable and you can completely relax. And you can start by focusing on your breath and elongating your exhalation so you feel yourself sinking into the earth. And I'm going to read you a little, I don't know, it's kind of a thought. I guess it's a thought, like a little kind of mini essay that was created by this Native American woman, in which I edited to create a flow that I liked. So it's a reminder that we have the abilities to heal ourselves, especially when we connect with nature. Heal yourself with the rays of the sun and the light of the moon, with the sound of the river and the wind in the trees, with the swelling of the sea and the song of the birds. Heal yourself with the hugs from the wind and the kisses from the rain. Stand strong with your bare feet on the ground and with everything that comes from it. Be smarter day by day by listening to your intuition. Jump, dance, sing, so that you live with joy in your heart. Heal yourself with beautiful love, and always remember, you are the medicine. Begin to bring some gentle movement into your bodies. Maybe wiggle the fingers, wiggle the toes. And whenever you're ready, bend your knees and gently roll to your side. And pause there to feel the connection of mind and body as one, to feel your connection with nature, with the natural world, with the song of the birds and the kiss of the wind. And then keeping your eyes closed, very gently and slowly use your hands to press and roll your way up to a comfortable seat. And feel your hips settling into the earth as your chest and the crown of your head rise toward the sky. Feeling that connection between earth and sky, both energies in your body. Please bring the hands together in front of your heart. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me in this practice. I hope that you feel amazing. I hope that you feel like cleansed and detoxified and alive and deep appreciation and connection with nature. And I would love it if you would leave a comment below, if you would subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and tell your friends. It's really important. Let me know any requests that you have for future classes. And it was great spending a little time with you. I hope to see you again soon.